What if I told you that the underwater world is full of emotions you've never considered? While we are tormented in our search for love, the nature around us breathes and lives its amazing life, radiating light and creating harmony. In this mysterious realm, where every movement is illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent beings, life is vibrant. Bright corals, transformed into true canvases of art, dance to the rhythms of the ocean while little fish swirl around them like envoys from distant galaxies. They are not just creatures. They are living entities with powers we can only dream of. Each of them sparkles with an invisible energy, revealing their secrets only to those willing to listen. However, amidst this splendor, one soul, filled with doubts and fears, struggles with inner demons. An underwater city shrouded in magic, yet leaving it in the shadows. Outlandish forms of life intertwine in a dance while the main character remains disconnected from this beauty. She looks at the world around her, and all she sees is a reflection of her own ailments. The beauty of life surrounding her becomes pain. Those bright lights that whisper of love remain distant. Time and again she tries to find her place among the bioluminescent beings, but alienation only deepens her longing. The voices of shamans echoing in her memory remind her that true love begins with self-acceptance. Each lesson learned from these wise beings resonates in her heart, creating a bridge between inner emptiness and the magic around. What if, looking back, she notices how the light above her fills with new meaning? How sounds once heard only as noise begin to form a symphony singing of connection with nature. The underwater world does not just live, it feels, it craves connection, and this connection is nothing less than a reflection of her own soul. Peering into the endless depths, one can see the true sparkle of life calling her. This is not just the world surrounding her, it is her own inner mirror reflecting the path she must take. Every step alongside the fishes and colorful corals becomes a step towards self-discovery. This is not merely a search for love. It is the finding of herself in the embrace of the sea's essence. No matter how foggy her path may be in this underwater city, she finally begins to feel the spirits of nature calling her. And soon she will understand that true love begins not with another, but with herself. What if I told you that you can feel even lonelier in the company of others? Lyra sits on the edge of the sofa, surrounded by laughing friends. They joke, engage in conversations, but her presence seems to go unnoticed. Lyra watches all of this. Her eyes shine, but there is emptiness hidden within them. Inside her, there is a feeling she cannot explain. Everyone is around, yet the flow of communication passes her by, as if she is behind glass while others enjoy life. Her thoughts drift far away from this noisy space. She remembers her childhood dreams of future adventures, of friendship and closeness. But life turned out to be completely different. She has always been in a state of cohesion with the outside world, yet internally felt that isolation was strengthening. The only thing keeping her afloat is the hope that one day someone will truly understand her. Once again, she tries to engage in the conversation, but the words are stuck in her throat. A dull voice echoes inside her. You are not needed by them. They are all so happy, and you are just an observer. Lyra tries to ignore this thought process, attempting to take a step forward. She smiles, raises her glass, but the taste of joy feels sour on her tongue. Suddenly another thought strikes. What future awaits me if this continues? Maybe I should leave this company. But even the thought of leaving fills her with even greater fear. She sees people having fun, and a desire to be part of it overwhelms her. To feel needed, to free her heart from the stone that presses harder with each passing day. And sitting there, amidst hundreds of voices, Lyra wonders, What if the only way to connect with those around me is to acknowledge my vulnerability? But how? How do you open your heart when you have no confidence that someone will understand? This internal conflict grows, and if you pause for a moment, you can see her vibrant individuality getting lost somewhere amidst the cacophony. Lyra looks at her friends and realizes they can be close, but loneliness remains her faithful companion. Every laugh, every joke is a wall she needs to break down to finally step into the light. Are you ready to learn the truth about love? Sometimes romance feels like an exciting fairy tale filled with bright emotions and hopes. But what if that fairy tale is not for everyone? Lyra sits in a cozy cafe, a cup of hot chocolate in her hands, and memories of her attempts to build relationships swirl in her mind. Every time it seems like happiness is within reach, it ends in disappointment. She recalls meeting the first man who turned out not to be who he claimed to be. His words, like sweet candies, deceived her and lulled her vigilance. And then, like thunder on a clear day, he found someone else. Lyra sighs heavily, remembering how ashamed she felt of her naivety, of believing in the fairy tale of love. And now the second round begins. This time she is more cautious, weighing every word. But how difficult it is to open up again. On dates, she seems frozen, building an invisible wall around herself to protect her feelings. Every time she starts to trust, that wall begins to crack, but ultimately it grows stronger, and it feels impossible to find the key to her heart. What is true love? Why is it so hard to find? Like a lock without a key, each encounter makes her doubt her own strength and dreams. Lyra asks herself many questions, but the answers are lost in the fog of her disappointments. Again and again, she imagines the perfect image of a man who will be her companion, a white knight on a bright horse. But every time she tries to take a step forward, her heart stops, filled with old scars. The past pulls her down like a heavy stone at the bottom of the ocean. An inner voice constantly reminds her, "Don't believe." And every time another opportunity arises, she retreats into herself as if afraid of failure. But will she be alone forever? Lyra is not looking for easy paths. She seeks to experience sincere feelings. She wants to believe in miracles and true love, but the disappointments behind her hinder her courage. This internal conflict is her constant companion. How can she enter a world where hopes are not deceived and dreams become reality? Lyra waits, hopes, searches, but deep inside a question brews. Is true love just a myth? What if I tell you that nature itself is the greatest teacher of connection and harmony? Imagine a world full of bioluminescent beings dancing in the night, using light to interact and find one another. Their phosphorescent bodies create glowing patterns that shimmer under the starry sky, like a gentle whisper of ancient wisdom. Lyra stands at the river's edge, watching this wondrous spectacle. Each beam of light emanating from these beings feels like a secret message, urging her to delve deeper into the interconnections that weave through all living things on the planet. She feels the waves of light washing over her soul, filling her with endless energy and tranquility. Each creature, each flickering signal is an expression of a desire to be part of something greater. As astonishing as it sounds, they communicate with each other on a spark level, in a language understood only by them. Lyra ponders, isn't this what we as humans should strive to learn? Every connection, every interaction is like a delicate thread tightly binding us to nature and to each other. She recalls moments from her life when she felt lost in chaos and solitude. Being together, supporting one another, this is what she has always aspired to. And now, watching these beings, she begins to realize that connection doesn't always require words. Sometimes it's enough just to shine with life. How frightening and yet beautiful this revelation is. Lyra understands that her path to harmony begins here, among these magical beings. These moments are not just manifestations of nature, but a true book filled with endless lessons. Will she be able to learn from them, absorb this light and bring it into her own life? Questions overflow within her like a waterfall, and all she wants is to follow the light to find her way in this world. Let us ponder. What if I tell you that your greatest enemy is yourself? Imagine Lyra standing alone in a room in silence where each breath echoes her fears. Her thoughts swirl. Why does no one understand me? Why am I always alone? She looks in the mirror and sees not only her reflection but also the shadow of loneliness pulling her deeper into the abyss. Every morning Lyra wakes up hoping that today someone will fill the emptiness in her soul. But as soon as she steps outside, an insurmountable wall forms, a wall of stereotypes and expectations. If I'm not perfect, why should I try to be liked? If I don't take a step, no one will notice me. She feels caught between the desire to be social and the fear of being in the spotlight when there are so many unfamiliar faces but none close to her. The inner conflict suffocates Lyra like hellfire. Her struggle is not with others, but with herself. She asks herself, why am I afraid to be myself? It's like a maze where every wrong decision leads to even greater fear, the fear of being unaccepted, judged, abandoned. She wants to scream, but the words get stuck in her throat. Each no from those around her makes her feel that the well of confidence is drying up, even though her inner voice whispers, "You deserve to be loved, Lyra." She begins to realize the deepest fear is not loneliness, but the lack of connection with oneself. Maybe I don't need others to feel my worth. She comes to this realization in the silence. But how difficult it is to take a step towards self-acceptance when there is so much surrounding her, and every gaze seems judgmental. She understands that freedom starts within her, but how to begin this journey? Lyra decides that she can no longer continue like this. And although she doesn't yet know what it will look like, a spark of hope ignites within her. Next, she will discover that it is in this struggle that her true strength lies, and with each passing minute she gets closer to her goal, acceptance, love, and understanding of herself. Do you know how often we find ourselves alone with our problems, as if in a fog that only thickens? I felt this acutely at the moment when it seemed like everything around me had burned down. It feels as if life itself is choking, and hope melts away like snow under the spring sun. But what if there is light in the darkness? At that moment I remembered the shamans, those who speak with spirits, who see what is hidden from ordinary sight. I decided to reach out to them, not yet knowing what awaited me. Gathering all my courage, I headed into the forest where, according to rumors, the wise and knowing reside. Each of their words, like a whisper of ancient trees, was filled with power and understanding. I approached them with an open heart, full of fear and hope. "Does anyone among you know how I can find a way out?" I asked, and the resounding answer of the wind only confirmed my confusion. Their gazes were deep, as if they were already familiar with my suffering. They made no promises, but only pointed out that the only way to change is through inner work. "Listen to your inner voice," one of them said, his eyes glowing with the wisdom of ancient times. This simple yet profound advice was a revelation for me. I realized that all the answers lie within. I just didn't know how to access them. With each word from the shamans, I felt a spark of hope beginning to grow deep inside me. I started to believe that even in the darkest corners of the soul, clarity and strength could be found. Perhaps the spirits they spoke of were ready to help me if only I could open my heart to them. This turn in my quest became a bridge to a new beginning. I was not alone. In the silence of the forest, among ancient trees and under the wise gazes of the shamans, I began to realize that change was already near. I just needed to step into this new space. What if I told you that love is not what you thought? Love is perceived by many as an addiction, something that fills us and at the same time makes us vulnerable. We are used to thinking that it is in relationships with others that we find our happiness. But what if I suggested you look at it differently? Imagine that love is not the search for someone to complete you, but the inner harmony that you create yourself. You can be a whole person, independent of others' opinions or the need to be with someone. Consider this. Could it be that your true strength and happiness lie within you? By learning to love yourself, you will open new horizons for your relationships with others. It will not be dependence, but a free choice based on understanding and respect for yourself. Love is not sacrifice, not expectation, and not striving to receive something in return. It is a state where you accept and appreciate yourself and then share that harmony with the world around you. Once you realize that true love begins with yourself, you will stop searching for it in failed relationships, disappointments, and sufferings. You may wonder, how can you achieve this? Start with simple things. Every day, set aside time for yourself, for your thoughts and feelings. Discover what brings you joy and what drains your energy. Fill your life with what truly matters to you. Once you learn to be happy on your own, true love will enter your life. You will not need it to feel whole, but you will be able to experience it fully. This is the path to inner harmony. Let it be challenging, but it is the one that will lead you to true happiness and freedom. What if I told you that nature can become your best teacher? Lyra decides to leave behind her everyday worries and retreat to the forest. With every step on the soft ground, she feels a wave of calm washing over her. Birds singing their melodies create an atmosphere in which thoughts of daily hustle rush away. Her concerns, which seemed insignificant, suddenly feel like trivial dust carried away by gusts of wind. She sits at the base of a majestic tree, its powerful roots like embraces hugging the earth. Lyra notices how the sun breaks through the foliage, creating a dance of light spots on her skin, and this sensation feels like magic. Each breath fills her with energy, and each exhale releases burdens that hold no importance. Immersed in this interaction, she begins to question. Why do we so often forget that the world around us is full of wisdom? How often do we lose ourselves in the race for material gain, forgetting that true success is the ability to listen to nature and to ourselves? These thoughts swirl in her head like autumn leaves dancing in the wind. Lyra closes her eyes and suddenly feels enveloped by silence. Not just the absence of sound, but a deep understanding of every noise, every rustle. You walk the chosen path, and suddenly the stars themselves show you the way. She opens her eyes filled with visions and realizes her interaction with nature is not just a rest, it is a transformation. Minutes turn into hours as she remains in silence, hearing how the surrounding world tells its stories. The river babbling nearby reminds her how important it is to direct her energy where it will bear fruit. Each movement of the wind whispers to her, "Do not be afraid to be strong. You already are." This pause, this exchange with nature becomes for Lyra not just a moment, but a whole journey deep within herself. She realizes that it is important not just to take. One must also give. But what can be more valuable than actively paying attention to what is happening around? Lyra feels that this is not just interaction. It is an important step on the path to her true calling. How easy it is to lose that invisible thread connecting us to the world. She stands up and decides it is time not just to live but to inspire. In this delightful moment of connection with nature, Lyra understands that her growth and development depend not only on actions, but also on the realization of how important it is to be a part of everything. She finds her place in the great circle of life. Are you ready to learn the truth about your fears? We have all faced them, and sometimes they become not just barriers, but a real shadow that isolates us from closeness and understanding. Each time we shut ourselves off from others, something important slips away from us. Genuine connection is only possible when we dare to make a step towards each other, overcoming our internal barriers. Imagine being in a dark forest filled with ancient trees, walking alone. Every sound, a rustle, the wind invokes fear within you. You scare yourself, and that darkness starts to pull you deeper into isolation. But what if instead of running from fear, you decided to approach it? What if you shone a flashlight of understanding on it? Fear not only isolates, but also divides. It makes us hide, and sometimes surrounds us with walls. Here's a story that vividly illustrates this. A young man turned off his phone for many years, fearing interaction with people. He thought this would allow him to avoid the pain of rejection. But with each passing year, as he isolated himself, his fear grew and he remained alone. And only one day, deciding to face his fear, he began to interact with people and saw the world opening up around him. He realized that true connection begins precisely when we challenge our anxieties. Now think, when was the last time you opened up to someone despite your fears? Openness is not just a way to connect, it is a tool that unites souls. It is your strength that allows you to break down the walls built by fear. I encourage you to try today. Do something that scares you. Call a friend you haven't spoken to in a while and share your thoughts. You'll be surprised at how your world changes when you take that step. By opening up, you not only connect yourself with others, but also give yourself the opportunity to grow, becoming braver and wiser. Don't let fear control your life. Remember that behind it lies a multitude of opportunities and real, sincere, saving connections. Take the first step today. What if your fears became your best friend? I just came back from a walk in the park. The leaves whispered to me about freedom. The moonlight reflecting in the river exuded a calming warmth. And yet, in my head, there was a voice reminding me that this walk was dangerous. Every rustle of the leaves turned into a warning. I wondered how many times I had denied myself joy because I was afraid someone would tell me, "It's time to stop." Every step was considered, every decision held back by fear. How often did I hesitate when life blossomed around me simply because of the thought, what if? And indeed, what if those what ifs are what keep me from breathing fully? How many beautiful moments have I lost, stumbling over my inner barriers? I recalled a moment when I recently met an old friend. Her joyful laughter reminded me of our youth, of the fearlessness and courage we shared. Paradoxically, the older we get, the more chains bind us, the less courage resides in our hearts. My life has been filled with rules that I set myself. Afraid of being judged, I preferred to stay in the shadows, but is that shadow of comfort worth losing myself? Every time I chose the safe path, I died a little inside. It's like lighting a candle and hiding it in a drawer. What's the use of the light if it doesn't illuminate the way? Looking back, I realized that every fear is not an obstacle, but an invitation to explore new horizons. What if right now, as I look at the world with its constant changing faces, something special is waiting for me? It's not in ready-made templates and warnings, but in the courage to stop and simply be. How can I let my fears control me when there is a kind of beauty in them? To learn, to grow, and to rediscover myself. Perhaps it's time to stop being afraid. How magnificent is that thought? I want to allow myself to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, and to laugh in the face of fears. After all, life is not a survival test, it's a masterclass on how to be truly alive. What if I told you that true peace can be found in the depths of the ocean? Lyra stood by the water, her feet touching the cool sand as the gentle waves whispered their secrets. She gazed at the horizon where the sky met the sea, and in harmony with the bioluminescent lights that flickered in the water, she felt the world around her begin to change. As she passed through the vibrant colors of the corals, Lyra discovered that each moment, each sensation filled her soul with lightness. The water, as if alive, embraced her, causing her to ponder again and again how connected she was to this world. Each drop gliding across her skin evoked memories of losses and joys. She recalled how often in life she sought harmony, clinging to success and the opinions of others. And now, among this bioluminescent magic, she finally understood that happiness cannot depend on the outside world. All of them, creatures and elements, were part of a greater whole. As if the ocean whispered solely to her, Lyra realized that her fears dissolved in this magnificence. Each glowing element was like a spark of hope. Each magical moment reminded her that she was not alone. She was a part of something greater, connected by invisible threads to every living being on this planet. Tears of joy filled her eyes. It was a revelation that changed her perspective on life. The connection to the world is not something distant, it is something that has always been within her, and now she finally understood it. Lyra took a deep breath of the ocean's freshness and felt her soul fill with light. What if I told you that everything you believed was a lie? Lyra sat on the shore, watching the endless waves tirelessly rolling in. A storm raged in her soul. She thought about how much time she had spent searching for happiness. New places, acquaintances, beloved hobbies, all of it offered only short-lived satisfaction. The desire to please others, the need to be better than someone else consumed her. But what if all of it was just a mirage? At the moment when the sun began to sink below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery pink hues, her memories of the words of the elder who met her along the way surfaced in her mind. "Happiness is not in what you have, but in who you are," he said with a wise smile. Those words resonated in her heart like the glow of a spark illuminating the darkness of doubt. Lyra pondered. How often had she sought her reflection in the eyes of others? How often did she try to meet someone else's expectations? She remembered how once, overcoming her fears on stage, she felt a thrill that didn't depend on the audience's judgment. It was a moment when she simply was herself, free and light. Her inner dialogue shifted to realization. She began to understand that she had been tirelessly trying to fill the void that seemed to always be within her. Wherever she went, no matter how much success she achieved, the lack of inner acceptance always brought her back to square one. And now, in the silence of nature, she was able to view this picture from a new angle. Lyra closed her eyes, and a feeling emerged in her heart that could not be described in words. It was not happiness as a result of achievement, but the joy of simply being. She recalled playing with children in the park, laughing without worrying about what passers-by thought. She remembered that it was when she simply enjoyed life that her smile was truly genuine. A few minutes passed before she opened her eyes again. She suddenly realized that no one could give her happiness except for herself. Every yes to others was just a lost no to herself. Her true worth lay not in achievements, but in the freedom to be herself. She felt a lightness awaken within her. Lyra understood that happiness was not a final destination, but the journey itself, every moment of it. With this thought, with a new understanding of her value, she stood up and turned to the sea, saying, "I accept myself as I am." The sun illuminated her face, and in that moment she understood. This was just the beginning of her true journey. her perspective on the world changed. Lyra was ready to explore what it meant to be herself, not what others expected of her. What would happen if you stopped limiting yourself? Think about that for a moment. Have you ever felt that you couldn't become who you wanted to be due to your own fears or expectations? This feeling can be overwhelming, but what if I told you that the key to freedom lies within you? Lyra, like many of us, struggled for a long time to meet the expectations of those around her. Every day she battled with criticism, both internal and external. Her mind was filled with doubt and fear. "I'm not good enough," she would tell herself, comparing her life to the idealized images on social media. But one quiet evening she decided to stop and ask herself, what if I simply accept myself as I am? At that moment, when Lyra set aside her fears, she noticed how the world around her began to change. Every morning she started with a small practice, writing down her feelings, desires, and fears. With each word spoken on paper, the weight in her heart grew lighter. It was like dusting off the canvas of her life, allowing herself to be imperfect. She remembered how once, looking in the mirror, she tried to find flaws within herself. But now she began to see vibrant colors, what made her unique. She realized that self-acceptance is not just about accepting her imperfections, but also about acknowledging her strengths. I am brave, I am smart, I can love and be loved. And then, after a few weeks, as Lyra listened to herself more, her inner world transformed. She learned not to fear rejection and misunderstanding because she knew that true love starts with self-love. Each new day became an opportunity for her to be sincere and open, both to herself and to others. Lyra understood that her fears, which had always lurked in the background, no longer ruled over her. She became bolder in her decisions, began accepting job offers that once felt out of reach, and in her personal life, she opened up to new relationships, allowing others to see her true nature. One by one, her expectations began to fade, and she no longer felt like a slave to obligations. Instead, Lyra started to create her life, filled with love and happiness. And in this amazing transition, she finally understood. The most important thing is to be yourself, without losing the ability to love. What if you took that step too? The decisions you make can change your life, just as they have for Lyra. Start with a small step, accept yourself, and open the doors to endless possibilities. Are you ready to learn the truth about how self-love can change your relationships? Each of us faces a moment when others begin to perceive us differently, when we start to radiate confidence and inner light. It's like magic when you realize that your worth does not depend on others' opinions. Remember how difficult it was to communicate during those times when you doubted yourself. Every conversation turned into a challenging game where you tried to please everyone. And then, one fine day, a transformation happened. You decided to start loving and accepting yourself. At first, it felt like a step into the unknown, but it was worth it. Every morning you looked in the mirror and smiled at your reflection, and the world around you began to change. A new note, sincerity and openness, started to sound in your conversations with friends. You realized that you could truly share your thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Friends began to notice how you were blossoming, and it encouraged them to open up to you in return. Changes also occurred with your colleagues. Your confidence attracted people. Even those who had previously ignored or devalued you began to behave differently. They started to listen and pay attention to your opinion. It's as if you received an invisible magical ring that gives you the power to influence those around you. Imagine how now, when you walk into a cafe, the waiter, seeing your confidence, immediately smiles, approaches you more quickly, and offers his recommendations. People around you start to look at you differently, becoming interested in you, as if you became the magnet that attracts positive energy. And it is in such moments that you realize relationships with others are a reflection of the relationship with yourself. When you love yourself, the world around you begins to change. You become someone who attracts people who value you for your true essence, not for a mask. Your surroundings fill with more genuine connections based on respect and understanding. So I ask you, are you ready to embark on this amazing journey to yourself? All it takes is one step. It will change your life and the lives of those around you. Are you ready to learn the secret that will change your life? We live in a world where fear and doubt hide true feelings. But at that moment when Lyra turns the corner of the park, a completely different space opens up to her. An inexplicable wave of warmth envelops her like a soft blanket, and suddenly it becomes clear to her. This is a place where there is no need to hide. She sees him. His eyes, filled with sincerity, evoke a desire in her to open up. It seems like a light conversation about the weather, but genuine interest clings to every word. They laugh as if they have known each other for eternity, and suddenly during a joke she catches his gaze. A moment. This moment of realization strikes Lyra. How pleasant it is to expect nothing and simply enjoy the conversation. She shares her story, recounting the fears that have haunted her all these years. Her voice trembles, but there is strength in it. And he, not interrupting her words, listens attentively. Lyra's soul unfolds like a blooming flower nourished by sunlight. What if all these experiences are just shadows that she created herself? He takes a step closer, their hands barely touch, and Lyra feels all barriers dissolve. There is no need to pretend, no need to look perfect. She accepts herself as she is, and he looks at her, his eyes reflecting neither judgment nor fear. Through laughter and lightness, they together process everything that is hidden in the depths of their hearts. This is love, pure, free, without conditions and expectations. Lyra suddenly realizes her fears that she does not deserve happiness were just illusions. Every word he speaks, every gesture reinforces this feeling. She laughs as she hasn't in a long time, feeling something new blossom in her chest. The confidence that love can be without fear, that her soul is worthy of reciprocity. In this elusive moment, Lyra understands this is not just an interaction, this is true unity. She is ready to open her heart to the world, leave old fears behind, and believe in love. Are you ready to learn the secret that will change your life? Think about it. What is love? It is not just a feeling. It is an art that we create every day. In this final lecture, the shaman will lift the veil. He looks at his students and says, "True love is not what you find, but what you create within yourself." Imagine a flower growing. At first, it is just a seed that needs care, sunlight, and love. Love is exactly the same. It doesn't fall from the sky. It blossoms when we invest our soul and effort into it. Sometimes we search for it in others, forgetting that the real power lies within us. Many of us have been immersed in the quest for an ideal, waiting for someone to make us happy. But what if I tell you that it is up to us how we perceive the world and relationships? Those who have found themselves are capable of bringing light to others. Remember how it was said that love is work? Yes, it is. Every day is a new lesson, every situation is an opportunity. Sometimes going through difficulties, especially in relationships, we begin to understand that we were taught to create. When love is inside us, we are not afraid of pain and loss. We become whole on our own, and only then can we build harmonious connections. It is like a dance. When each person knows their step, they move together, creating something beautiful. So do not be afraid to love yourself, for only then can you truly love others. Become architects of your love, and you will see how the world begins to change around you. In this final parable, the shaman leaves his students with the question, what is the first step you will take to create your love? The words are not just a reminder, they are sounds of ancient wisdom that we have not yet considered. Love, create, build. Let's start right now, for love is not a den of waiting. It is a workshop of the heart. Who among you is ready to move from waiting to action? Are you ready to learn how inner work changes everything around you? Lyra, a woman who once stopped believing in self-love, now stands at the peak of her life. Her journey was full of obstacles and doubts, but one day she realized, to find happiness, one must start with oneself. A sense of freedom ignited in her heart. She heard her inner voice whispering, "You deserve happiness." At first, everything seemed difficult. Every day, Lyra woke up with the thought, how hard it is to be myself. But her inner world gradually began to change. She started taking care of herself, dedicating time to her passions, surrounding herself with inspiring people. Every small step brought her closer to becoming better, finding joy even in simple things. Imagine this. One day, Lyra woke up and realized her life was filling with light. She began to build relationships based not on fear and dependencies, but on freedom and understanding. She learned to say no when necessary, and yes when it truly brings joy. And suddenly one day she looked in the mirror and saw not just a reflection, but a person she loves. Lyra understood that her happiness is a state of flow. It's the feeling when every moment is filled with joy, every step is conscious and meaningful. Lyra made the choice to bring happiness into her life and share it with those around her. This changed not only her own reality, but also the world around her. People began to gravitate towards her like a source of inspiration. That's the true magic. When someone starts believing in themselves, it awakens faith in others too. She realized that joy is not a destination, but a journey to be enjoyed at every moment. Lyra invites us to follow her, opening doors to a new life full of light, inspiration, and love. Who knows, maybe today is the day you decide to take the first step towards your joy. Remember, inner changes always lead to outer transformations. Open your heart, and life will respond in kind. Do you know what the most interesting thing is? We often seek harmony with the world around us, but we forget the most important thing. Ourselves. How do you establish your relationship with yourself? It sounds simple, doesn't it? But in reality, it is a real challenge. Imagine that each of us is a whole world full of hidden corners and unexplored paths. Sometimes we wander within ourselves, get lost in our thoughts, and suddenly realize our relationship with ourselves requires the same attention as communication with others. Have you ever asked yourself what your inner dialogue is like? What if your inner voice is the most valuable advisor that can lead you to a better version of yourself? Perhaps you keep a journal, meditate, or take walks in the fresh air. Or maybe you simply allow yourself time to reflect, to analyze what is happening in your life. It is important to understand that these moments are not just routine, but a whole process of self-discovery. What do you think happens when you truly listen to yourself? It is not just a conversation in solitude. It is a dialogue that can transform your understanding of your own desires and fears. And the more you pay attention to yourself, the closer you become to your true self. Imagine you have the opportunity to sit down and talk to yourself like an old friend. What questions would you ask? What would you like to know about yourself? How many of us have managed to ask such questions? This can be a starting point for deep self-analysis that will change not only your internal state, but also your external relationships. Let's do this together. Share in the comments how you establish your relationship with yourself. Perhaps your methods will inspire someone else on the path of self-discovery. Don't be afraid to be honest. It's the first step towards the changes you want to see in your life. What if I tell you that the underwater world is full of wonders capable of changing your life? We see only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to love and harmony. Every moment in this silence among bioluminescent beings feels like a deep breath of the universe. These creatures glow from within, like our hearts when we accept ourselves as we are. Imagine how they dance in the ocean waters, shining brighter than 1,000 stars in the night sky. This splendor reminds us that true harmony begins with inner light. Self-acceptance. No one is perfect, but it is our unique traits that create magic. Just as bioluminescent beings captivate the gaze, our inner light can bring joy and hope to the lives of others. We are all connected by invisible threads, and when we begin to love ourselves, that love spreads like bright light, a piece of which we can give to the world. Each of us has the potential to become a spark that is awaited in this vast ocean of life. Allow yourself to shine and give warmth. Remember, it all starts with you. Your story, your acceptance, and your love can inspire other hearts. Do not hide your feelings, for they are what make you alive. Like bioluminescent beings, we can create light even in the darkest waters, and perhaps today is the day you decide to shine.